October 12, 2014, from CenturyLink Field in Seattle, Washington. It was the Dallas Cowboys at the Seattle Seahawks in this Week 6 matchup. And heading into this game, the Cowboys were 4-1 and the Seahawks were 3-1. And in the first quarter, the Seahawks got on the board first as Hauschka kicked a 33-yard field goal to make it 3-0 Seahawks over Cowboys. And then the Seahawks would add another 7 points when Mike Morgan had a 25-yard return on the blocked punt. So then it was 10-0 Seattle. And then the Cowboys got on the board with a 2-yard touchdown pass from Tony Romo to Gavin Escobar. And that made it 10-7 Seahawks over the Cowboys. That was it for the first. Then in the second quarter, the Cowboys tied this game up at 10 apiece when Dan Bailey hit a 42-yard field goal. And then the Cowboys took the lead just before halftime when Romo hit Jason Witten for the 3-yard touchdown pass that made it 17-10 heading into halftime with the Cowboys in the lead over the Seahawks. Then in the third quarter, Russell Wilson tied this game up at 17 apiece with a 9-yard touchdown run about midway through the third. And then about 3 minutes later, the Seahawks took the lead with a Hauschka 33-yard field goal that made it 20-17 Seahawks over Cowboys. The Cowboys then tied it up about a minute before the end of the third when Dan Bailey hit a 56-yarder that tied it up at 20 apiece. So after 3, it was knotted up at 20. Then in the fourth quarter, the Seahawks took the 3-point lead with a 48-yard field goal by Hauschka to make it 23-20. And so now, with about 8 minutes left in this game, the Cowboys had the ball down by a field goal, and Tony Romo led the Cowboys 80 yards in 9 plays, eating up about 5 minutes, capped off by a 15-yard touchdown run by DeMarco Murray that made it 27-23 as the Cowboys took the 4-point lead over the Seahawks. And then the Seahawks would end up giving the ball back to the Cowboys, and they added some insurance as Dan Bailey hit a 31-yard field goal to make it 30-23, and the Cowboys win this game by 7 points with the final score: Dallas Cowboys 30, Seattle Seahawks 23, and the Cowboys now improved to 5-1 as they are undefeated after losing that game in Week 1, and the Seahawks are now 3-2. As they lose their first game in Seattle this year. And in this game, Tony Romo was 21 for 32 with 250 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. He also had a negative yard rushing off of 2 carries. Russell Wilson was 14 for 28 with 126 passing yards and an interception. He had 12 yards on the ground off of 2 carries. The leading rusher in the game was DeMarco Murray with 115 yards off of 29 carries and a touchdown. Marshawn Lynch had 61 yards off of 10 carries. The leading receiver in this game was Terrence Williams, as he had 70 yards off of 2 receptions. Dez Bryant had 63 yards off of 4 receptions. And for the Seahawks, Kearse had 62 yards off of 3 receptions. And on defense, Jason Durant was the game's leading tackler with 9 tackles. And Robert McClain had an interception, the game's lone interception, and that was the Cowboys picked off Russell Wilson. The Cowboys also had 2 sacks as Selvey had a sack to go with his 5 tackles. And for the Seahawks, they had 1 sack, and that was Bruce Irvin who got that 1 sack. So the final score, 30-23, Cowboys over Seahawks.